Wait, something doesn't add up. If Toby Fox dreamed of making Deltarune in 2011, then why did it take him until 2018 to release Chapter 1? Clearly there's a long road leading up to even beginning its development. This road most likely starts here. On July 8th of 2011, Toby Fox posted, "The edge of the shadow, reality and dream meet." Because of the correlation of dates and theming between these two pieces, it is widely accepted that this tweet is the general basis of Tobys Dream, which is why I will now be referring to it as Tobys Dream. Though that's not where this correlation ends. In this video I aim at connecting many of Toby Fox's works that fall back to this dream, and possibly gain valuable insight on the direction of Deltarune's ending. The next part of this timeline is quite predictably Undertale, seeing that Toby Fox seemingly created Undertale to prove that he could finish Deltarune. But if you look more closely at its ending, with the context of this being a precursor to Deltarune in terms of development, while connecting both to Tobys Dream, you'll actually find something remarkable. In the pacifist ending of Undertale, just before you fight Azrael, he addresses the player's name directly. But what's odd about this is that the name you pick in the beginning of Undertale, that everyone calls you by, isn't actually meant to be your own self-insert, like most RPGs. It's rather the name of the first fallen human, which was Azrael's best friend. In layman's terms, that's Kara. In fact, if you choose Kara, the game calls it the true name. To connect this back to Tobys Dream, I want to take a closer look at it. The edge of the shadow, where reality and dream meet. My interpretation of this is that reality is meant to represent the player, and dream is meant to represent the game. Now as we look back, we can see that Azrael addressing Kara is the closest we really get to reality and dream meeting in Undertale, though with Kara as a stand-in for the player/reality. This is why I think this is such an important scene, which I'll get back to when we get to Deltarune. The next part of this timeline is Skies Forever Blue, which I promise is relevant to this discussion, even if it has no implied correlation to Deltarune. To give a short summary, it is a music video depicting a nameless retro RPG where the companion NPC falls in love with the player of the game, only to confess it tragically as the entire game's save data is corrupted. You likely already see the connection this has to Tobys Dream. The relationship, while kinda weird and parasocial, between the player and the companion NPC fall exactly in line with the edge of the shadow, at least my interpretation of it, which is why I think it has relevance in cementing this theme in Tobys' works. Finally, we're now at the part where Deltarune comes into the picture. The ultimate connection Deltarune has to Tobys Dream can be summed up by one character. This character, while certainly not the only part of Deltarune to match the edge of the shadow, is Ralsei. This is because he is one of, if not the only character to fully see and understand the player's presence in the game, with an exception of Gasser, of course. This is seen through many things, like him literally breaking the fourth wall in the Asle Tunnel of Love scene, and him telling Chris to remember to save and take a break, even though that clearly doesn't apply to them, but instead applies to us, the player. But the strongest piece of evidence to me is the fact that he named Castletown after the player. Keep in mind that that name was only said once in the beginning of the game during the Gunnermaker sequence. These pieces greatly separate Ralsei from the rest of Deltarune's characters, including the secret bosses that, while having meta-knowledge, never explicitly show knowledge of the player's presence, in the way that Ralsei does. Going back to Undertale's significance in Tobys Dream, remember what made this scene important is that Azrael was referring to the player's stand-in, Kara. What connects this to Deltarune is that in Deltarune it explicitly asks the player for their real name, and this name is somehow known by Ralsei, which is an anagram for Azrael, in the same way that Deltarune is an anagram for Undertale. From the way that I see it, Undertale was something like an outline for the direction of Deltarune in terms of Tobys Dream, which remember was the sole reason any of these projects were ever made in the first place. This isn't me saying that Deltarune will be the same as Undertale, just with you instead of Kara. What I am saying is that both endings and both these characters have one very important thing in common that ties them back to Toby Fox's dream, and that is the edge of the shadow, where reality and dream meet. Anyways, if you want to make my dream and reality meet, you should like this. Wait, I think I'm missing something. We can't end the video just yet. That's where I intended it in my theory, but there's still something very important I need to cover regarding Deltarune's ending. From Toby Fox's own words, there's something more important than reaching the end, which at first may seem incredibly confusing. If Toby Fox was inspired to make Deltarune because of a dream of its ending, then why would there be something more important than reaching the end? If you look back at the timeline, with the context of the ending essentially not mattering, we can actually see that both Undertale and Skies Forever Blue share this. To complete the pacifist ending of Undertale, you first have to complete a neutral ending before reloading and eventually getting the pacifist one. And in Skies Forever Blue, the video actually starts at the end of the game, and over the course of the whole video, the game is replayed about 3 times. Now, I highly doubt we're going to have to replay Deltarune to get its true ending or whatever. What I instead think this is implying is that Deltarune's true end to its story will be met, which would actually make sense given the meaning of Toby Fox's dream. The diegetic nature of the save menu or the game over screen fit perfectly with reality and dream meeting. On top of that, another very questionable aspect of Ralsei's behavior is that while he's usually very kind and patient regardless of the player's actions, he gets very upset whenever things start to go differently from what they're supposed to. Like when Susie learns how to act, or when you can't view Noelle's room in the weird route. What ties us to the meta-narrative is that Ralsei knows the path that the player is meant to go on and tries to keep them following it. How else would he notice something's wrong when these things happen? This, paired with all the previously stated pieces, strongly tie Ralsei to the meta areas of the game. Ultimately, what I think Toby Fox means by there being something more important than reaching the end of the game is that, in the same way of Undertale and Skies Forever Blue, the true conclusion of the story isn't found in the literal end of the game, but rather the meta interactions that happen after it. So to end this off, I will demonstrate the actual value this theory has in gaining insight on Deltarune's story. The most noticeable indicator of Deltarune going the direction of this theory is the further breaking down of traditional boundaries seen in games, like Chris further rejecting the player's control and Ralsei's facade of referring to Chris when they're actually speaking to the player, withering away. Does this completely reveal the ending to Deltarune? No, but I think it does a good job in gaining insight on Deltarune's direction and Ralsei's role in it, while also connecting Toby Fox's works back to an underlying theme he's pushed since 2011, when he had a dream about the end of a game. The end of Deltarune. Thank you for watching all the way through. Keep in mind this is my first Deltarune related video, so don't go looking at my past ones expecting anything like this. Seriously, it's a completely different channel. Though I do want to make a shift toward Deltarune related content. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, it truly would be helpful if you liked and subscribed. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here before these titans find me. See you later.